Why is the Israel and the Hamas peace deal such a big deal to countries all over the world? It's because Israel and Hamas are probably two of the worst neighbors you've ever heard of in your life. This is center-leaning news, and I'm Tyler Covington. We're going to go over the left, the right, what each has to say, and we always come back to the center. So Israel and Hamas, they're some of the worst neighbors you've ever heard of in your life. You know those neighbors that you have where they're always getting at it, they're always complaining to the HOA, complaining, well, you mowed over my grass and your barbecue last Friday night was too loud, the music was too loud, or you're doing this or you're doing that. That's Israel and Hamas, but way worse. So for 20 years, they've been having these kind of fights, but they've been using missiles and machine guns instead of music and lawnmowers. It's worse than that because all the countries all over the world have decided they're going to treat it like a big football match, and they're going to gamble on their favorite team, and they're going to say, yes, my team's going to win, Israel's going to win, or Hamas and the Palestinians are going to win. And so all the countries in the world have been gathering around supporting their side. So it has seemed for the past 20 years, especially the last 2 years since 2023, October 7th, the invasion from Hamas into Israel, it seemed like it would never end and there was never going to be a great peace deal. And really there were two options when it came down to what was going to happen by the end of this conflict. Option number one, Israel was going to be able to go into the Gaza Strip and to beat Hamas, take them over, and they were going to, in quotes from the left, they were going to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, take them, put them in other countries or in other parts of Israel. The other option was that the Palestinians were going to beat Israel, sort of, and that they were going to be able to have some sort of agreement to where they were going to create a two-state solution where the Palestinians were going to have a government, co-government, alongside the Jewish government in Israel. Neither option was really a viable option. Neither option, for multitude of reasons, they were not really supported by the international community. It just seemed like neither one was going to happen. So it was sort of a standstill at the conflict. But no one really thought there was going to be a peace solution without these two options. But there was a peace deal. Trump authored a peace deal between the two nations, and they're both happy. And many countries right now are happy about it. And we're about to look at the reactions from the left and the right and countries from all over the world, and you're going to be surprised at their reaction. Before we get into that, I want to back up to give some context of maybe why this peace deal came to pass. So we're going to back up to 2016. This is Trump's first term. This is before the current Israel and Gaza conflict. So in 2016, they were still in a conflict, but prior to 2023. Hamas had been striking missiles into Israel, and Israel had been claimed to being trying to annex certain Palestinian lands inside of the Palestinian territory. And Trump came in, and people really doubted Trump's ability to be able to handle foreign policy, especially Israel and the Middle East. People thought Trump's just this New York business guy. And I'm definitely not here to support Trump or to talk good or bad. I just want to look at this from a historic political point of view and say what happened, what worked, and what didn't work. And people thought anything Trump did at that moment was never going to work, especially when he decided the person he was going to put in charge of the Palestinian deal with Israel and the Palestinians and Israel and the other countries, he decided to put in charge his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner was this young New York businessman who seemed to not know anything about the foreign relations world, about Israel and other countries, and people were making fun of Trump for even putting Jared Kushner in this position. And then Jared said, well, I've recently read 25 books on this issue. I've got some idea where we need to go. So then there were articles making fun of him saying, well, he thinks because he's read some books that he knows more than the experts who've been going at this for decades. And the experts had never actually gotten any progress between Israel and the other countries. So who does this random young kid from New York think he is, and coming in and stepping in and saying, I'm going to fix or help fix the Israel and the Palestinian issue? So when he stepped in, he decided to throw out all the expert opinions, the presumptions about how to fix the Israel issue and the other nations around them. UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. And he realized that the expert opinion of the past was that the only way for Israel to have good treaties and relations with these other Muslim countries was first they had to fix the Palestinian issue inside of their own country. The Palestinian issue was simply that there were Palestinian groups inside of the Jewish government-led Israel, and that they wanted their own representation, and really they wanted a two-state solution. They wanted a Palestinian government co-governing with the Jewish government. And there was a lot of, relations, and you had Hamas, and you just had a lot of conflict going on there. And there was never able to be some sort of agreement there. So because of that, the experts said Israel can never have a good treaty with these other Muslim countries until they get that issue fixed. So Jared decided to throw that out and say, no, I think that issue isn't very important. The Palestinian issue isn't necessary to fix first. First, we can just deal with Israel and the other countries and ignore the Palestinian issue. So he decided to deal with Israel first and the UAE. And he decided to start creating economic agreements and certain religious agreements. I believe that there were religious sites inside of Israel, Muslim religious sites, that the UAE and other countries wanted access to, but they weren't able to get access to because travel hadn't been opened up between these countries. So he started making agreements of opening up travel, opening up economic agreements. By the end of Trump's term, with this new theory of foreign relations, they created the Abraham Accords, which is a treaty of a series of Muslim countries, a treaty with Israel. And these were treaties that were done without ever fixing the Palestinian issue. So it seemed that his theory was correct, that he didn't need to fix the Palestinian issue first. Take this back into 2025. So Trump becomes president again. There's a war that had started in Israel. So for this issue, Trump had sent his envoy, Steve Witkoff, in to try to fix the relations between Israel and Palestine. And Jared Kushner was also brought in at the last moment to help create more relationships between Israel and these other Muslim countries. And so at the end of the day, what happened apparently was they spent about 24 hours, Trump and Jared Kushner and other leaders spent 24 hours calling up these Muslim countries, calling up other countries like India, Pakistan, European countries, and getting all these countries involved and making deals and agreements and getting some consensus of how the Palestinian issue should be treated. Basically what came out was, hey, we think we can stop the war. We think we can have all the hostages from Israel that were taken and brought into the Gaza Strip. We can bring them all back, and we can hand over all the prisoners that Israel has brought in from Hamas and give them back over to Hamas. And we can make sure that there's no further threats from the Gaza Strip into Israel, all with one big agreement that everyone was going to be happy with, which is pretty crazy that happened. So we can get into another video about what all this agreement entails. There's like 20 points of what all it means, but I just want to go over the reaction of how the world reacted to it. So we're going to start off just looking at Trump's initial post on Truth Social. I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, and all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. This is a big deal, of course, for Trump. This was something that he had promised in his campaign, that he was going to come in and fix the Israel and Hamas deal, although he did say it was going to be done sooner, but it happened, and it's a big deal. This is like a historic event, no matter where you are on the spectrum of politics. This is Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel. With the approval of the first phase of the plan, all our hostages will be brought home. This is a diplomatic success and a national and moral victory for the state of Israel. From the beginning, I made it clear we will not rest until all our hostages return and all our goals are achieved. Through steadfast resolve, powerful military action, and the great efforts of our great friend and ally, President Trump, we have reached this critical turning point. I thank President Trump for his leadership, his partnership, and his unwavering commitment to the safety of Israel and the freedom of our hostages. God bless Israel. God bless America. God bless our great alliance. Here is President Obama, who is usually very critical of President Trump, but even he agreed this is a great thing that happened. After 2 years of unimaginable loss and suffering for Israeli families and the people of Gaza. We should all be encouraged and relieved that an end to the conflict is within sight, that those hostages still being held will be reunited with their families, and that vital aid can start reaching those inside Gaza whose lives have been shattered. More than that, though, it now falls on Israelis and Palestinians, with the support of the US and the entire world community, to begin the hard task of rebuilding Gaza, and to commit to a process that, by recognizing the common humanity and basic rights of both peoples, can achieve a lasting peace. And one more note, this is from Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who has also been very sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. I welcome the news that a deal has been reached on the first stage of President Trump's peace plan for Gaza. This is a moment of profound relief that will be felt all around the world, but particularly for the hostages, their families, and for the civilian population of Gaza, who have all endured unimaginable suffering over the last 2 years. I'm grateful for the tireless diplomatic relationships of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and the United States, supported by our regional partners in securing this crucial first step. This agreement must now be implemented in full without delay and accompanied by the immediate lifting of all restrictions on life-saving humanitarian aid to Gaza. We call on all parties to meet the commitments they have made to end the war, to build foundations for a just and lasting end to the conflict and a sustainable path to a long-term peace. It's really interesting how the whole world is supporting this peace deal. It seems like the whole world wanted this war to end officially. And of course, this is just the first phase of this peace deal. Something I found interesting about this peace deal was that in the peace deal, it actually includes that Hamas was no longer going to leave Gaza once they got into a certain stage of the deal, that Hamas had actually agreed that they were going to give up being in charge of the Gaza Strip. In my opinion, it seems like the only way that happened was maybe there was some sort of pressure by all the other countries of the world who had been supporting the Palestinians, saying, hey, we'll support you, but you got to get rid of the Hamas government. There's still going to be some form of a Palestinian government there, but it's going to go alongside of a peace council. Now, what this means, who knows? It's sort of like legislation bills that get passed from tax bills, and you don't know what they mean until they have descriptions that they release 3 months later. We don't actually know what a peace council is, but we do know who's in charge of it. The chairman of the peace council is none other than Donald Trump, working alongside of the former prime minister of Great Britain, Tony Blair. So that will be interesting to see how that works out with Hamas being gone. And the final part of this is, what's it going to look like for Gaza to be rebuilt? There's been estimates of Gaza being rebuilt, and it was going to take decades and decades before they could be fully established as a great place to live again. Does that mean that the Palestinians are going to have to be moved out, as Trump said earlier when he talked about building the Riviera of the Middle East, where he mentioned taking out the Palestinians and moving them back in? Or can they rebuild Gaza with the Palestinians in there? What does that mean for the future? I don't know, but right now the world is happy about this peace deal. So we're looking forward to seeing where this goes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a friend. I will see you next time.